welcome to the Dark Histories live stream. Hope everyone's doing well. I'm Ben, as always, and that's Hallie,
I'm
as
Hallie.
always. If you want to
Knocking crap
join the
over.
stream, there is a link in the description. I do believe, like that says, link in the description. Hope everyone's doing well. So, yeah, how are you doing, Hallie?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right.
Philip Blair's here. Dun, dun, dun.
Hello, Philip Blair. And hello, Sarah Hansen.
Yes.
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking probably mostly about, I would have thought, eating people. I mean, a lot of stuff happened in that episode, but I can imagine that most people are mostly interested in talking about eating people. So yeah, the episode that we're going to be talking about was the Medusa episode, right?
Yeah.
It was pretty cool,
I
right?
liked it. I thought it was good.
Yeah, me
I
too.
really
Do you know
liked
what
it.
I liked the most about it was that I thought, because obviously I picked it because I'd heard about the raft and eating people and all things like that. And I thought, right, that sounds pretty dark and great. And then when I started reading it, I found that actually the bit I liked the most were the people that went on the shore and walked along the beach to get, walked 200 miles basically,
Right?
nearly dying. I had this guy's diary that he kept. It was an edited version of his diary, but that was really fascinating. The kind of adventures that they went on, I guess, after being put ashore. Do you see Hallie's kitty cat? I hope you don't see mine. Otherwise you
No,
can
I think it's yours because I think.
Oh, mine's here.
Yeah.
On
I was
my
gonna say
lap.
because things might go to shit and a shingle real quick because I've got the puppy today. So.
Oh, right.
So I'm gonna apologize in advance just in case.
Brian died. It was a brutal episode. It was definitely brutal, but I'm glad you liked it. That it was definitely brutal. So yeah, I mean, I actually found, say, like the walking, the guys that got put on shore and then walked the 200 miles rather. I found that to be kind of more fascinating than the raft. I mean, the raft was pretty mad.
That was just brutal.
Yeah. But I mean, so what did you make of it as a story, though, like in general?
Sorry.
You all right? Your puppy going mental?
He's a border collie, so he's mental to begin with. But I don't know how he did it, but he just managed to squeeze himself underneath my bed, which he shouldn't have been able to do. So he may be there for a while because I'm not going to pull him out. But
just be stuck under the bed for the rest of the day. At least it'll keep him quiet.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I full disclosure, I kind of drugged him before we started, so hopefully he'll just fall asleep under there. But I liked it. What really killed me, just cracked me up, was when they decided, you know what? We're not going to leave the wine. Let's just drink it all because God forbid it go to waste.
Yeah.
So they just got shit.
They spent. I do like the fact that they must have been hammered, because if you think about, like, they were basically like not eaten for days under like a boiling hot sun. They must have been absolutely off their tits, mustn't they?
Oh, can you imagine? I mean,
Happy 80th anniversary of Britain's declaration of war on Germany.
War on Germany, 1939. Happy anniversary. That's great.
I didn't realize. Is that today?
Apparently.
I had no idea.
Philip Blair says so.
Yeah, I had no idea.
But
it's not
really... I mean, no food except for just wet biscuits and
the soggy wet biscuits that they mashed up with wine.
With nothing else. They had to have been hammered. I mean, just bloody wasted. I mean,
I reckon they were just. I reckon that's probably how they managed to get through most of it without committing suicide. I reckon the ones that committed suicide, they only did that because they hadn't had enough wine.
Exactly. Yeah.
Everyone else was shit-faced. I like the fact that they had the riot on that. Was it the third night? There was basically like a riot, And it just ended up petering itself out because they were basically just knackered. They'd basically just fought all night until they would just punched each other out and just went, oh, fuck it. Let's just, there's enough dead now. We'll just collapse on the raft for the rest of the day.
Oh my God. Oh God. Yeah, no, I just.
Oh, salty biscuits. Then that's Sarah. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, the whole salty biscuit thing. And I just imagined a bunch of drunken sailors like pulling clothes out of the suitcases and like putting on women's dresses and just, I don't know. I mean, I have a really active imagination anyway. So I was
It's kind of what I was thinking as well. Like this absolute carnage.
All this.
A sort of backstage at a theatre or something, like absolute carnage.
Yeah.
People running around with clothes, like mismatched clothes, like dresses and sort of costume jewelry, getting absolutely shit-faced, you know. Like, yeah, you could tell that was going to go horribly wrong, couldn't you? When they
why do you keep
you're like
freezing?
Lagging really bad. Well, you keep freezing to me.
Is it me or is it you?
Who's freezing, everybody? Is it both of us or one of us? Because to me, I'm not freezing, but Hallie is. But yeah, I going to assume that it's not me and keep talking. Yeah, I just imagined it was like this kind of backstage at a theatre company, and they're all getting shit-faced, wearing costume jewelry, running around, going carnage on a deck, and then they say, "Oh, by the way, now we're going to evacuate."
Yeah,
it was just a total nightmare.
Yeah, I know. Just, oh my God. Did you see what he said?
Dark version of in the Navy. Oh, so Philip says neither of us are freezing. Okay, so it must be something jammy going on with this, but we'll fight through it. Okay. It'll be fine.
Yeah, we're good.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, so that was carnage, wasn't it? I mean, what a time to decide, oh, by the way, we need to evacuate when everyone's pissed out their heads.
Yeah, that's probably not the best time to make life-changing decisions or life, decisions that your life really depends on.
No, so that, I mean, it was doomed from the get-go, wasn't it? Basically, like the evacuation was just carnage, and then it was pretty much downhill from there, really. I particularly liked, and I sort of added it because I read it after I'd just eaten. And I thought, I have to read this shit. I'm putting this in the episode. The urine drinking and the fact that he was so bored and so delusional that he spent time essentially chatting with his friends about what the different consistencies of urine were, and how some people's urine was more like delicious than others.
Some tasted better than others did.
I loved the line that was, in truth. I think what was it? Sort of paraphrasing, but I think he said, "In truth, it wasn't at all disagreeable," or "In truth, it wasn't that disagreeable." It was cracked me up the way he was sort of like, actually, it wasn't that bad. Hey, Amanda, you all right? Picked a good time to add you to the stream there, didn't I?
Yeah, I love coming in on urine. It's great.
Big old gulp.
It's a little salty, but not bad.
Matt said that's the French for you. He's a Napoleonic scholar. Yeah. I did sort of think, just the fact that, everything's going to hell in a basket, and then they just go, you know what, let's just drink the wine. As long as we've got wine, we'll be okay. And I love the fact that they killed people to preserve the wine. Like, we I mean, that was, to be honest, probably the darkest part, wasn't it? When they decided some of these people are too weak to survive, let's push them into the water.
Just push them over the water. Yeah.
I can see where they're coming from, but holy wow, that was a moment for me where I was kind of like,
that's pretty harsh.
Okay, this has gone a different level. This has just taken a dark twist.
Okay, and Sarah can appreciate this because she's in the medical field, but when they started talking about how the urine, different people's urine tasted differently, the first thing that popped into my head was asparagus.
Really, the first thing that popped into my head is diabetics or anybody who had kind of like a kidney or liver, pancreatic failure.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, right.
But I'm just you know, like if you eat too much asparagus or something, or I mean, it's like,
You know, the first thing that popped into my head, and this is possibly a little bit too gross, was the fact that they're all dehydrated and drinking wine, and you know the colour of your pee after a heavy night out.
it's gonna be nasty.
Yeah,
and you gotta drink that.
it wasn't a nice piss, was it? It was.
No.
It was the unsavoury one, or
Yeah.
perhaps
Right, they just take a ladle full and they're like, Francois, I think you're a little dehydrated.
It's like chewing wood. Or something.
Oh, oh, so gross.
James, hey James, give me a glass of piss over red wine anyway. But yeah, so interestingly, then they started eating each other. But interestingly, and this is something that I have notes for because I found this out, was that well, it sort of explained it in one of the books that I read, that eating people at sea at the time was kind of unspoken agreement that that's what people did.
Yeah, it was like, what did they call it? It was just part of, what did they call it? It was like
being at sea. Like if you've got to survive at sea, that's what you did.
Yeah, it was just like an unspoken understanding, is that if you were at sea and something bad happened and you had to eat somebody, so be it.
Yeah, and no one kind of talked about it because that was cannibalism and that was for the tribes kind of thing.
Yeah, but if you're at sea, it's a different story. It's okay.
What happens at sea stays at sea, you know, like it's
like
and a real burial at sea.
Yeah.
Let me rethink that. Oh, don't get buried at sea.
I'm oh God.
But I have a list, right? So in the 1700s, this is just the 1700s. In 1710, the Nottingham galley was a wreck off the Gulf of Maine, and they ate the ship's carpenter. In 1727, the Lux.
I mean, he'd already finished the job, right? So
exactly. The Lux. He's kind of done his job badly, I guess. I mean, if you can't fix the ship, we've had a wreck. If you can't fix it, we're eating you.
Yeah, you're done, mate.
Yeah. In 1727, you had an English trade ship in Jamaica called the Luxembourg Galley that wrecked off Newfoundland, and they ate the dead survivors of that. In 1759, there was a ship called the Dolphin, and they cast lots, and whoever lost got eaten. They only had to kill one person, fortunately, but they cast lots, and it was basically like whoever pulled the shortest straw got eaten. In 1766, the Tiger, they killed and they ate a slave. And in 1765, aboard the Peggy, which was an American ship, they ate the ship's cat, 2 pigeons, its messenger pigeons, and then eventually a slave, which I thought, actually, at least the slave was above the cat and the pigeons for once.
True.
And then after that, they still weren't, satisfied. They still had a bit of a grumble in their belly. So they cast lots and again decided to eat the loser, but they were saved just before they shot him in the head.
Could you imagine?
And that was sailing from New York to Azores. And that was just the 1700s. This goes on, extends to the 1800s. But I only looked at ones in the 1700s. So it kind of was the thing. Like basically, if you wrecked your ship, prepare to get eaten.
It was nice of them to draw straws and not just be like,
Well, no, I can't.
Yeah.
Because
rock, paper, scissors. Shit.
I did some homework too on like the whole, cannibalism in extreme circumstances things, and I totally forgot about the whole was it an airplane crash? Let's see. The rugby players that got stranded in the Andes.
Yeah, the football players.
Yeah. That's
in 1972, which was not that long
they made
ago.
a film out of that, didn't they?
Yeah, called Alive.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. I mean, and then, what was it, like 30 years later, they came back and played like an honorary rugby game. It's like, hey, didn't you eat so-and-so?
All with mouth guards, no biting allowed in that game.
No,
yeah.
But there were a couple that actually, I think it was like the Greeley expedition. Is that the one that drew straws?
Oh, I'm not sure, actually.
There was one that Oh wait, I know which one it was.
Sarah Hansen says,
It
"Why
was-
weren't there more rations?" I think it just went absolute to carnage when they had the drunken evacuation. If you mean the Medusa, it all just went absolutely to shit.
Well, that and when you're at sea, it's not like you have a plethora of rations. It's usually just food that can survive with the salt water.
Salty
Long sea
biscuits.
voyage. With the long sea voyage, they weren't like, all right, there was what was usually like bread, salted pork. It was usually a lot of oranges and limes to fight scurvy. So they weren't like, here, fresh papayas. Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
They got
'cause-
all excited when the flying fish landed in the boat, though.
oh, yeah. But
Right?
I thought that
Yay!
was funny. The fact that they kind of just decided to kind of bite the bullet and eat the people, and then the fish landed, almost as if to say, like, gutted. You didn't have to do that, did you?
Like, wow, just a little patience and see what it given you.
You
some fish.
just imagine this guy kind of chewing on a leg, and then a fish just lands in his lap. Are you taking the piss?
Yeah. Right? No, it was poor Richard Parker was a 17-year-old like crew member who literally drew the short straw on
Oh, is this in the one that you were saying about?
yeah, on the Mignonette, which was in 1884. He literally
Right.
drew the short straw. And they stabbed him in the neck with a penknife and drank his blood while it was still warm and then began to eat him.
Why'd they do that? Dirty
Because
bastards.
they were like stranded.
Dehydrated?
Because they were 2 months into the trip and there were 4 crew members left who were able to get into a 13-foot life or a 4-meter lifeboat. 19 days later, things weren't looking so hot, and Thomas Dudley, the captain, suggested that Parker, and since he had no wife or family and he was sicker than the others, could quickly be dispatched for the survival of the rest. Okay, if he's the sickest one, I don't want to eat him.
Yeah.
Is that just me? I mean,
No, I think that's fair.
Well, like what kind
Right?
of sick? Like flu or like
I mean,
gangrene?
I don't
Not only
know.
that, but I mean, he's the one that doesn't have he hasn't got any of those ties. He's got his whole life to live
Right?
for. Like,
Hey,
you know,
he had his chance, man. He had his chance. Not married with kids by like 16. That's it. Game over.
yeah. You're getting eaten.
Yeah, right.
Uh,
Clearly,
Oh,
your
God.
spare parts at that point.
Yeah. But they were found on the 24th day, and then I guess I know,
I
right?
just saw Philip saying, "What kind of cat was it?" I don't know.
Yeah.
Philip.
I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, they
I
found
say
him
it
on
was
the
a Tom.
That'll work. I think
They
that's
found
good.
him in the what? Sorry.
Oh, no, they found him on the 24th day, and actually, the captain and then one other guy were convicted of murder, but then they got a pardon and they were let out of prison.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
It's not all bad.
no.
To circle back on the cannibalism thought, I don't know, maybe this is just the darkness of my mind, but I understand survival scenarios in cannibalism, but I think what really grossed me out was versus the rugby players and the Donner Party. It was cold, and like cold is preservation, right? We still use it like when we refrigerate our meats to keep bacteria and stuff from growing.
Yeah.
And these were like middle of June by the equator, tropical heat, baking already dead bodies. Like that's the part I'm like, I don't even think like I could get down with that. Like, oh, this body that's been here from day 1 and it's day 11, just been baking and basking in the sun. Yeah, let me just slice up a piece, make a sandwich. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sharona says their defense was, but I was hungry.
Dude, I don't know. I just. Ugh.
Yeah, it was. I think when you sort of, the whole thing. I mean, when you think about it, it was just absolutely vile, wasn't it? It was pretty harsh stuff.
And then, how did
Yeah.
they make the oven?
Oh, right. So that's a really interesting part that I didn't actually include in the podcast. But they had a gun that they'd deemed too dangerous. Like the officers had deemed it a bit too dangerous to just be laying around. So they tied it to the top of the mast. But they basically realised that everything was going to shit. So they got the gun and they used gunpowder to kind of start a fire. They rigged up, I guess, with some wood from the raft, a little kind of oven, and then they used the gunpowder from the gun and the
Oh,
ammunition
okay.
that they had to start a fire, but they only had enough for like one fire, so they could only actually cook it once. So that
Oh,
was
okay,
like
so
a
it
bit of
wasn't
a
like a repeated thing, right? Like
no, no, it was just like a one and
they weren't
done.
like, hey, medium rare, anybody? Just like
Yeah. Oh, someone get the Barbie started. I'm starving.
right?
Yeah, yeah. No,
Corpse
it was.
tartare, what's happening?
It was
Oh,
just like a last resort, and I think they were kind of hoping they wouldn't have to, it
yeah.
would get something would happen, but so they only had it the oven the one time.
Oh, okay. You mentioned also in the podcast that there were sharks swimming by, but they weren't able to pull it over because of how unstable the raft was.
Yeah, and they were
But
catching the own raft as well because they were dropping the hooks in the water and then hooking the raft. So
excellent fishermen. But
It's a good thing it wasn't a blow up raft.
but if they still, because I think that was prior to like the mass culling, right, and the big fight on the raft when the sharks were mentioned in the
yeah,
timeline. Like none of them could have taken their like daggers and been like, hey, wow, and like smash it in the head or
I
shoot
thought
it.
that as
Like
well.
they didn't think
Yeah,
about that, and then yeah, and then pull it up on board. I mean, I don't
yeah.
know, but
I mean,
I
depending on how
guess
close they're
hot
getting,
sun
you
and no
don't really
water.
have to drop your hook in, right, and like do a bit of traditional fishing. They had like scimitars, like just surely,
Right,
but
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that would have been a good use of the dead body. Just kind of like hang a limb out in the water, like here, sharky, sharky, and then wham, like
yeah.
shark fin soup. Anybody?
Yeah, just use it
Yeah.
to
No,
chum the
I
water.
thought it was strange that they were sort of doing like legitimate kind of fishing.
But I don't
Right.
know if that speaks to the condition of their like strandedness or the condition of their already incompetent incompetence. You know?
Yeah. I mean, it did seem like they were all pretty delirious. You would hope so, wouldn't you? Like that they were pretty delirious for the whole time, so a lot of them didn't really know what was going on, which I think is probably for the best.
I guess, yeah. But it's also kind of scary because it only happened in a span of 12 days. Where you look at other shipwrecks, it's like
They wait a
that,
while.
yeah. Because you read like, oh,
Well, and
38 days. Like, okay, totally makes sense. Like, this was less than 2 weeks. This wasn't even a fortnight. This was like day 10 and already like half of them were gone.
well, and not just that, but I mean, that one boat was the Argus that came by and said, "Hey, we just dropped 57 people off or something. Do you want to lift?" No,
Yeah.
because you're gonna steal our wet bread. You know,
A soggy biscuit.
dude. Yeah. I'm like, what other option do you have right now? Like, what other option do you have that's a really good one that you're holding out for? Because
Yeah. I thought
I mean,
that was it was a stunning example of how much they all hated each other, wasn't it?
well, not
Yeah, it
just
really
that,
speaks to
but like
the.
at what level of paranoia they were already,
Mm,
you know,
yeah.
psychologically.
I mean, I think before they'd even left, they were pretty much at a level of paranoia. I mean, they all just hated each other. You had some real divisions in the society there. Like, that was never going to work. Even if they
It
got
really.
there without a crash, I think they probably would have ended up killing each other.
That whole plot in the Argus, it reminded me of Mean Girls. Like, you can't sit with us! Like, they're just like, keep going!
Yeah.
Sarah's typing with one gimpy hand. Yeah, I hope you're feeling better soon, Sarah. Your cast looked pretty full on.
I know. She broke her metacarpal, she said, her third or
That sounds very
yeah.
medical to me.
No, and he's absolutely. Oh well, no, she said it on Discord. Otherwise, I wouldn't have like just guessed it. But James is
Hallie's
right.
that good
Drinking
at her
urine.
job.
Yeah, no. Drinking urine would have worsened their delirium because it's full of dehydrating salts. Yeah,
Really?
absolutely. And depending on what I know, you had said that they had put it overboard, and that's how they were catching it.
They were cooling it down by
cooling
the
hanging
water,
it
yeah.
into the water. Yeah.
I mean, whatever was holding it, if it was permeable and the salt water was seeping in too, the salt's just going to make it worse.
Yeah. I mean, they were cut like, I mean, it sounded horrible because they one of the guys wrote like a journal entry about how the salt was drying on their skin and they were basically turning into like human walking sandpaper and just like sanding bits of themselves off all constantly because they had their skin was just covered in like dried
Ew.
salt crystals that were just
You just
like
all you can do is
sandpaper.
just starfish on the raft.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just like
Just sort of slowly breathing, like don't touch me, don't move me.
That
Oh,
is a-
would-
Sarah said she's getting a real cast next week. It's the fifth metacarpal. Great name for a band. She's absolutely right.
So yeah, that was pretty bonkers. The whole rafting was pretty bonkers, and
Yeah.
then I thought the jerky idea was nice. I did like the fact that they just went completely delirium, and the guy was talking about how he was going to send a message to so and so, and all the rest of it, just completely bonkers.
It's like you got a pigeon for that.
Yeah,
damn it, we already ate it. Just like
but in a weird sort of way, it had like a happy ending for a Dark Histories episode.
so happy.
Sort
Less
of
than
awkward.
Sure.
like less than 5% survived. That's good news to me.
Yeah. It reminded me of a film, actually. Have you seen All Is Lost? Has anyone seen the film All Is Lost with
No.
is it Robert Redford?
I don't know. Did I miss a Robert Redford movie?
He doesn't talk. There's no dialogue in the whole film. It's fucking brilliant. It's one of the best films I've seen at the cinema for like a long, long time.
Better than Princess Bride.
So you have to pay attention to it?
Sort of, but it's kind of meditative in a way. I mean, I watched it and almost had a full-blown panic attack in the cinema because he's like in this like escape like survival raft in the middle of the sea, and it has this storm, and all you can see is just pitch black and this little white speck of light just spinning round and all this horrible noise, and I was just like but it's very similar to the story in that he's like, he gets shipwrecked, he's like yachting around the world, and
Okay.
like everything he does almost works, and then it's like nature's kind of gonna get you in the end, like, and it's just this slow deterioration of like everything he tries fails, but it's a really good film. It's really worth a watch. But yeah, no, anyway, it reminded me of that for some reason. But yeah,
Yeah.
I thought how awkward was the port of when they all turned up, because they all ended up at that port. Can you imagine how awkward that meeting was, that reunion? Oh,
Yeah, where's so and so?
hi guys, I remember
he
you.
made
Didn't we last see you on that raft as we cut our
Yeah.
ropes and fucked
Right.
off?
Last time I saw you, Bob, I was sawing away at that rope and waved you farewell. Like
James has seen All Is Lost. Yeah, it's a good film, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Sarah
no,
said
it was awkward as hell, wasn't it? Can you imagine that? Oh, I like it. It sort of avoided that. Like any of the, I thought they did quite well to be like the bigger men, I guess, and not really talk about it in their kind of first-hand accounts. But I could just imagine that meeting, like walking around the port, going, "Ah, yeah, well, I remember you. You're the one that cut the ropes. Cheers.
right?
How
How
was
the
your
wife
trip?
and kids, right? That survived.
Yeah. We got
That's
Hutchie
so
coming to
good.
join us.
Oh,
So the
figured it
Hutchie's
out.
from Discord. Yeah.
He's
I
from
don't- I'm not-
Canada. Manda.
He's muted at the moment, but
Canada, eh?
oh,
So
Hutchie,
everybody on the Medusa, not that it's super important, but it was all male, correct? Like,
there was one
you said-
female on the whole raft.
wonder what her job was. Anyway, continue.
Yes, but it was all male. There was one female, the whole raft. There was one female, and she was one of the ones that got pushed into the sea.
Oh, that's jacked up.
So women and children are not always first. Got it.
No, because her husband had been smacked in the head with a sword and was basically bleeding out with like a massive head wound, and she
Right.
had this big stomach wound, and they were both basically probably gonna die, so they got pushed into the sea at the end to save
That and
themselves.
who are you as a woman in that time without your husband? So clearly, just see you
Yeah.
later.
Yeah, it was the it was one of the kind of more higher up people's wives, and yeah, she was the only woman on board, the whole thing. She survived quite a long time, but
Until
Yeah.
the culling, yes.
yeah, until the culling, and that was the end of that.
Isn't that a movie?
I think so.
I thought
It's-
it was. I don't know why. It
Oh,
just
what, the
sounds like
culling?
it should be. Yeah,
It
sounds
does
like
sound
would.
like it should be, doesn't it? I don't know if Hutchie's working this out or not, but I'm just going to add him, and if it works, it works.
We'll find
So-
out in a sec.
Yeah, the people that walked, they were pretty good. I like their story a lot. I like the fact that they were like drinking fetid water in. Well, in a way, I think they might have had just as
I
rough a time of it, you know.
Yeah,
And they didn't have to eat humans, but they ate like everything else.
Yeah, they were eating vegetation that was making them sick. But
Yeah.
it's weird that they didn't think to like boil the
Hey,
water like the
Archie,
same.
we see you now.
we see. Yeah, he said he's got his mic muted because there's lots of stuff going on around him.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it was pretty. I like their story though. I like the fact that it was kind of an adventure in a kind of untamed world or whatever. It's very like with the tribes and the Moor people and things like this. Like I thought that was really fascinating. And I really like the fact that the Moor people, they were terrified of them, but when it came down to it, they were actually pretty decent. Like most of them helped them out. I mean, of course they traded for it, but most of them just helped them out.
Yeah,
That was pretty cool.
it's amazing what happens when you actually trust someone.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that was kind of funny.
Yeah,
Like,
I liked
they're
it.
savages, they're cannibals. Oh wait, I mean, they're savages.
Yeah.
It's like quit throwing rocks when you
Yeah. What's wrong with cannibals?
yeah. That's right. There's nothing wrong with being a cannibal. Cannibals are fine.
But yeah, I like their story. But overall, I thought it was it was a pretty good story. But there was no mystery about it, obviously. But it was a pretty
No,
good story.
but I still thought it was good. And I mean, it's one of those things you can go down a rabbit hole if you Google historical cannibalism.
Yeah.
It's like the other one I was looking at was the Greeley expedition from like 1881 or something like that. It's like
Oh, I don't know that.
they went to, let me see, hold on. Adolphus Greeley and 25 men set sail from Newfoundland in 1881 to mount an expedition in the far north. They weren't just going for the thrill of an adventure in the Arctic. They were charged with collecting a massive scientific data that would help understand the little-known region. Of course, they wanted to beat the British by going farther north than had ever been recorded. Yes, that didn't work out so well for them. Says the data collection went swimmingly, but when a promised relief boat, this is what got me, when a promised relief boat failed to show at the camp they set up at in 1882, and then it failed to show up at the camp again in 1883. I'm like, okay, things got a little tense, it says. Like, okay, wait a second. So
If it's not here by next year, we'll start
years.
worrying.
Yeah,
2
right.
years. Where'd you find that? Oh, we have it. Yeah, 2 years.
Do you think we should worry? It's 6 months overdue. Give them another year or so.
Yeah,
We'll-
they're
we'll
probably
see.
just a little behind schedule.
Yeah.
Well, this is Greeley ordered the men to make their way to the open sea where they could make tracks for supply cache. I guess they had like cached a couple of supply things at Cape Sabine, excuse me. It says it didn't work. Lo and behold, it didn't work. And instead, the men ended up in an even more desolate part of Canada, which was colder and less hospitable than the first. Naturally, frostbite and madness set in, and our story wouldn't be complete without the requisite cannibalism that shocked the public. When the 7 starved and dying survivors told their story after they were eventually found in 1884. They started this thing in 1881. They weren't found until 1884. You know what? They're allowed to eat each other at that point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's an appropriate timeline to start eating your best friend.
I mean, that's okay.
I tell you, like, about the. Oh, sorry. Go on.
No, I was just saying 25 men started and there were 7 left.
Still better odds than the Medusa.
Yeah, they did all right. Yeah. I say the ones that I thought got away with it quite well were the ones that were left on the Medusa. The 3 guys left on the Medusa for 50
Wasn't it out
odd
of 17?
days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they a lot of them died, but they didn't have to eat each other at least. You know, so
True.
that was one up from everyone else. They sort of managed to maintain a little bit, but
Right.
they obviously I guess they had a lot more food on the boat, so they were kind of roughly all right.
But
But,
everybody picked the boat that they went on, didn't they? I mean, for the most part, it was like, I'm going to go on this one. I'm taking that one. When they started like deciding where they were going to go, the captains did. Not the captains, but the leaders, quote unquote leaders.
Yeah, so the commanders like made a list basically, but that kind of went to shit when they decided to evacuate whilst everyone was drunk. But they did
Still my favorite
make
part.
sure still that the kind of commanders got their own boats and they were very like undermanned as well. Like one of the commanders had got on a boat with about 30 people, but it had space for like 90, and he was just basically like, nope, and he had like
Titanic.
yeah, and they spent
No
the
room
whole
at the end. There's no room at the end.
yeah, we've got too much food on our feast table. Sorry.
Yeah. This boat holds 90. There's 6 of you. We might tip. We can't risk it.
Yeah, and the actual food they ate, like all the way, was like really plush and everything. Like they basically had like a grand old time.
That's so jacked up.
Yeah, it's pretty shitty. So there was like a kind of pecking order, and they did make a list, but it all went to shit really. And they were like, you know, the people on the raft, you'll be okay. We'll give you sea charts. We'll give you, you know, compasses
A
and
broken
everything.
compass, yes.
They gave them
We'll
like
give you
bugger
worthless
all,
charts.
basically.
It's okay. We got plenty of those.
They basically just went, nah, you'll be all right. See you later, lads. Chunk.
Right.
Cut the rope and fecked off.
They're like, you see the horizon? Go that way.
Yeah. Well, hopefully go that way. Just if that's what way the wind blows you.
Yeah, right.
Because that raft that we built, can't steer it.
Oh, the diagram of the raft that I saw online, that looked shoddy. Like,
You think?
Yeah.
Did you post a picture of that up?
I don't think so, but I have. I'm sure. Let's have a look, see if I can find it. But
I mean, I wasn't expecting like master craftsmanship, but I was like, I don't even think I'd get on that raft. I'd be like, well...
Yeah, no, it was rubbish, wasn't it?
Floating piece of 10 by.
So this is the oh, where am I? So this is the raft that they had in the that one was the raft.
Oh my.
So that's the raft that they had, basically.
Whoa. Wait. And there were how many people on that?
147. Which is
Wait, there was how many?
If you look at
Wait, how many
147
on that raft?
Yeah, and it had 4 barrels in each corner to try and support it, and like a 15-inch railing.
I thought that was
what the hell
wine.
is that railing? Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I think it was just absolutely useless.
Well, I thought the barrels, when I looked at this, I'm like, oh, that must have been the wine storage. It was so important that they included it in the sketch as well. They were like, this is the only thing that saved us.
Yeah. It was just awful. I mean, as it went on, it kind of improved because they built a mast in the middle, and then they built that little kind of hut to shelter themselves from the sun. But yeah, no, it's pretty shoddy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I was surprised how quickly they built it, and then I saw that picture of it and was like, oh no, I'm not.
Sarah said
Now that
they
makes
just
sense.
laughed so
Yeah,
hard.
exactly. Oh no, that makes an awful lot more sense. Like, because it only took them a few hours to build, and I was like, that's impressive. And then I saw this picture, and was like, no, it's not that impressive actually.
No.
But yeah, that was the raft. It was none too shabby, none too fancy, rather. but yeah, no, a good story all round. And I enjoyed it.
Oh my god.
Pretty heavy.
Still 20 meters by 7 meters. But still, that's a lot of people on a raft.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it was sinking before anyone even started getting on it. That's yeah, fancy. Yeah, a mast, definitely fancy. That was as fancy
Yeah.
as it got on there.
And their charts were
Really
worthless to
upgraded the property
begin
value.
with.
I mean, in a funny sort of way, that riot is probably kind of beneficial, wasn't it? I mean, it kind of needed to happen, didn't it? Otherwise, they were probably all going to sink. I mean, it cleared out a lot of the dead wood, I suppose. If he survived, anyway.
Can
Yeah,
we
no.
talk about the painting? Yes, let's talk about the painting, Sarah.
Yeah. So, what about the painting? It's massive.
It is massive.
And the guy who painted it was a nutcase and had a room full of human body parts.
Hey, he
Yeah,
wanted to make
that was
sure it was
fun.
accurate, okay? Don't
Yeah.
judge him.
Yeah, he did. His studies were basically painting human body parts and severed heads. But yeah, I don't really know much about the painting, to be honest. So Sarah, take it away because you're the
Sarah,
art
this is all
historian.
you.
Yeah.
Miss Art Major.
All I know about the painting really was that it was released and.
Oh, wait.
Louvre
This might take a while, though. I forgot Sarah's trying to type with one hand. Hey, make Mr. Sarah type.
Yeah.
I can't believe he commissioned that whole artwork in 8 months, though. That's pretty impressive for how large it is.
Yeah, because it's huge, isn't it? What's the actual dimensions? It's about 20 meters, isn't it? By 5 meters or something.
It's like this big plus like that big.
What else did they have to do? I mean, it's not like they had television, smartphones, the internet, and everything else to keep them busy.
No, of course, but I mean that's still pretty. That's still pretty impressive.
So
for the amount of detail, and then the research that he did on top of that too. So like that's pretty impressive timeline. Like, hey, got to go buy a severed head, look at some dead people, interview the survivors, mix my paint, get my canvas. Like that's a lot.
So
back then, you probably just had to like go to a certain doctor, and they'd have all the body parts like for you the next day or something. They just had to pay a visit to the graveyard.
Apparently he bought a head through an asylum. Well, apparently he bought a severed head through the asylum.
Nice.
So it's 4.91 meters by 7.16 meters.
It's how big?
4.91 by 7.16, I think I said. Which is massive meters. So yeah, pretty huge. And if anyone hasn't seen it, it looks a little like this, or a lot like this. In fact, it is this.
It is this. Yeah.
You said 4.91 or 4D?
Oh, 4.91.
Okay, so 16.
So nearly 5 meters by just over 7 meters.
So,
and he did that. He did that in 8 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently.
Did he sleep?
I don't know. I mean, he's probably not if his house was full of rotten people.
Thank you for the conversion, Hallie.
Yeah. Nearly as big as the raft, James.
Maybe that was deliberate.
Maybe that was what, sorry? Maybe that
was deliberate. Yeah, like now you have a visual representation of what 147 people on this little rinky-dink raft was like.
So the pitch is actually supposed to be a good moment. Like it's basically them signaling the Argus when they were discovered. But it didn't happen, obviously. But it doesn't look very good to me. It's not very celebratory, is it? It's
Oh my god.
Oh, I thought you were saying the artwork doesn't look very good. I'm like, oh well, excuse us.
Oh no! I mean, it doesn't look like a happy moment in time.
I'm like, my bad. Renaissance paint master.
Let me just get out my what's it called?
Easel.
The the thing that you put your thumb through and then you paint on? Mix all your paints on.
I call it a palette, but I don't know if that's what it is. Paint palette.
That'll do. Yeah. But otherwise, I mean, I don't really know much about painting. It's not really my forte. If anyone else wants to chip in with anything about the painting, knock yourself out.
There's I think it was done with paint.
It was definitely done with paint.
Could have been blood. You never know.
Well, I mean, the guy's house. I mean, can you imagine being his neighbours living next to that stink?
Oh.
Paris in the summer.
Oh.
Is your fridge broken, Theodore?
Yeah, right.
Because
Yeah, right.
there's a funny stench coming through the wall.
You've got some old cheese in there, buddy.
Ben doodles are pretty incredible, Sharona. You're right.
I need to start doodling more in my notes, really.
Yes, Sharona. I told Ben when they were doing what was it? Oh, the half hanged episode, the William Craig episode. I'm like, I really would have appreciated it. Little doodle of like a hangman, and like play a little game, like those little things that you do in school when you like draw a little stick figure on the bottom corner of each page, and as you're going through your notebook, you just keep flipping it.
Oh, flip book.
Yeah, you just need to start doing that on the notes. Like this one would have started with a really nice like boat, and then eventually it ends up like a stick raft and people like falling off the edge.
Like as we scroll down through the notes, we just see the visual disaster of.
That's how I do my timelines. Click clicks.
See? Sharona says totally. I think that would be fabulous.
I think it'd be great. Step up the game, Ben. Come on.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so that's kind of the Raft and Medusa, really, isn't it? Has anyone else got anything they want to kind of bring up?
Would you do it?
So,
would you eat someone?
Yeah, I was gonna say. So, would you eat someone?
Well,
Hey, Mr. Vegetarian, would you eat someone?
yeah. See, I'm a vegetarian, so I'm immediately on the wrong foot here. But yeah, probably. I mean, if you're trying to survive, I guess you'd have to, right?
Let me think this over. Definitely, yes.
I mean,
yes.
If the choice is like eat an arm or die, I would probably eat an arm. But I mean, what about you guys then? How long? How long would you have to wait before you ate?
Well,
the
I
arm?
mean, I'd have to wait it out. A pretty good, decent time. You know what I mean? I'd have to know that there's like basically no chance of someone showing up on the horizon the next hour or so.
Yeah, Sarah, we can see your comments. Yeah, well, I mean, okay, so here's a choice, right? So apparently they were eating the leather from their scabbards and their ammunition pouches. Would you rather eat that or an arm? To be honest, at that point, I would probably go for the arm.
Ben's
Left or right? This is very crucial. Left or right? Like
arm? Probably
is
right.
it like bicep, forearm? Like where would you?
I think it depends on like if they're right or left dominant.
Yeah, surely you'd want to go for like somewhere up here where it's kind of muscly rather than that kind of stringy shit down here.
I just like really thought about this. Like snapping rubber bands in your face.
Yeah.
Sarah said her husband said fuck yeah. And Sharona said she's eating a leg before leather.
Yeah, me too. I'm pretty sure I would tuck in way before like I started eating my ammunition pouch. I would not be so up for that.
Well, I don't know. I can't get over the fact of like what happens to your body in the condition of like the hot sun and how long they were dead, which really makes me be like, hard no, I couldn't eat it. But maybe like a freshly killed, possibly,
I gotta admit, I probably would have tried fishing a little bit more.
Yeah, I definitely would have. I would have hit a shark in the head with my pistol or something before I started gnawing on a crew member.
See, that's what I was saying, Sharona. See, because
James.
Sharona said you'd want to go for the non-dominant hand, less tough. That was my point. That's why I'm like, it depends on if they're right or left dominant.
Okay.
The
James
bum is
reckons
fat.
the bum's fat.
Okay. Well, see, and the reason I asked that is because, like, when the Donner Party did it, they ate the pack animals first, and then they ate their dogs, and then after that, they took like the
I would eat a human before a dog.
Well, they took the
Depends on
animal
the dog.
bone. They took the animal bone and the hide, and they boiled that. But then by Christmas time, they started just eating everybody else. So
just give it up. just eat everything. If it looks like meat, it's going in my belly. Yeah, no, I would definitely eat a person before I'd start eating my clothing and bits of my hat and bits of my sword.
Your boot.
Can't... Well, I mean, aside from the logistics of actually eating a piece of your sword, like it's just not going to be very nutritional, is it?
no.
Whereas at least you're going to get something if you eat a bit of flesh.
I think it just stops the hunger pain.
Yeah, I suppose.
I mean,
yeah.
nothing's worse than the hunger pain. Like being #hangry. I mean, whew, like where's a Snickers when you need one?
Well, they were handing out lead balls like to suck on because it would keep their saliva going and make them feel like they're eating, basically, because they were kind of had something in
Yeah,
their
it
mouth.
also keeps the throat from being parched. You know what I mean? If you just swallow a little bit, you're not like, oh God, just dying over here.
I don't know that you guys have the same. I don't know that you guys have the Snickers commercials that we have here, where it's like hashtag. They're like a totally. When she said
Relax, Phil. Eat a Snickers.
when she said #hangry, it totally reminded me of that, and I'm like, oh God, a whole new Snickers marketing campaign with the wreck of the Medusa or the Donner Party.
That would be great. We should pitch it for Super Bowl. I think totally would work.
Snickers has this ad campaign where it's like you'll look at this person and say it's, I don't know, Danny DeVito being really grumpy and bitchy about something and just, they're like, geez, chill down, Charlie, have a Snickers. And then they feed him a Snicker bar, he eats it, and then he's a totally different person. So when she said #hangry, I'm like, oh God, Snickers campaign with the wreck of the Medusa and the Donner Party. Instead of eating, person just have a Snickers and you'll be okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Energy boost.
Oh God.
So you're talking about you asked a question about if we would eat people. In 2010, there was a German restaurant called Film that was advertised as opening, and
I'm so scared.
in the press release, it was the first ever cannibal restaurant, right? And it had a website that had a questionnaire asking donors their BMI, their medical history, and to share what sort of state they were in terms of fitness. And they said on their press release, we see feasting as a spiritual act in which the spirit and strength of the consumed is given to the guests. Turns out it was a hoax in the end. But
where the spirit is of your body.
It for about 2 weeks, it basically caused a massive storm in Germany about this restaurant that was claiming to be a cannibal restaurant, but as it turned out to be something about a vegetarian kind of activism group that were being annoying, frustrating vegetarians by trying to tell everyone else what they should and shouldn't eat. But yeah, so that happened. So that. But
James said, "Don't eat the brain or spinal cord because you could end up contracting
Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease or whatever it's."
Yeah.
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 Don't eat the brain or
Oh,
spinal cord.
kuru. Yeah, the kuru is the thing that the tribes get, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a parasite that makes you even more crazy than what you already were by wanting to eat human flesh.
Yeah. Well, so Sarah says, how German? I would have believed it. I know, right? So do you know this story in Germany from 2006 by Armin Mivus? Where he killed a guy and they ate his cock.
Well, yeah, the guy wanted to do it. It was this whole cannibal cafe thing. It's a sordid little thing, but yeah.
So he was
The
a
guy
computer.
voluntarily went. The guy
Yeah.
voluntarily went, knowing
adver-
I mean, that was part of the fantasy.
Yeah. So he advertised online for someone that wanted to be eaten, and he applied. And they chopped off his penis and ate it together until he passed out. At which
Yeah, he
point
couldn't
he
do it
killed
anymore.
him, put him in the freezer, and ate him until he was caught. And when he was caught, he'd already eaten like half of his body and buried his skull in the garden. And he ended up getting life in prison. But his defense was basically that they had numerous emails, messages, and phone calls saying,
Yep.
I want
And
you to kill me. It's fine.
that was voluntary. Yeah.
Yeah. But he still ended up being put in prison. But the interesting part of that going from Sarah's comment, was that the police estimate that between 8 and 10,000 people in Germany were sharing cannibal fantasies online.
Yeah.
At the time of this investigation, when they were investigating Armin Mivus, or whatever his name is.
Yeah, because that was the thing, is the Cannibal Cafe was like this online forum where people went in and did this whole, cannibalism fetish type thing. But most people weren't serious. It was
it's just like a fantasy or whatever.
It was just like a fantasy thing, because he met one guy. He had one guy that he met, they went in person the whole 9 yards, and the guy's like, hold on, wait, no, I'm not good with this. I wasn't like, I'm backing out. And so he took him like back to the train station or what have you.
He was like, it was just for funsies.
He's like,
just for funsies.
I didn't mean it. It's like, I didn't know you were really going to do this. It's like you see his kill room and everything that's all set up like a butcher shop and all. And he's like, dude, no, I wasn't serious. So he like took him back to the train station. But the second guy was serious.
Yeah.
My
the
mind
It Crowd
went cold.
episode was based on that. Yeah, I've seen that episode. I think I did the one where they go around his house and watch films.
What's the It Crowd? I'm a total dork.
It's the IT Crowd is
IT, sorry.
I think it's called the IT Crowd, but it's a play on like the It Crowd, as in like the in people, and the IT Crowd, as in the total nerds. It's two kind of nerdy people that work in like a big office building. They're like the IT guys for the office building.
Oh, okay.
And in one of the episodes, they one of them's totally clueless. Who's Richard Ayoade? He wrote and directed The Double and Submarine. If you've seen or heard of either of those, The Double's fucking brilliant and well worth a watch. But yeah, anyway, it's him and another guy, and it's a comedy. It's got Chris Morris in it from.
I would hope so.
Brass Eye, things like that.
It's either a comedy or a really bad.
I don't think he's actually in it. Is he in it? Yeah, no, he is in it. I think he's got something to do with it. Anyway, it's comedy on Channel 4. Had about a bunch of series a few years back. It's funny, but there's this episode where they go to this guy's house to watch films. But Richard Ayoade, the nerdy one, I think this is the story. I've only seen it once. He thinks he's just going there to watch films with his new friend, but his new friend's a cannibal that wants to kill him.
Oh no! Oh no, that's not good.
But yeah, no, it's a good program. It's quite funny.
Oh my god!
The ginger lady in it's really hot. I quite fancy her.
Very important to know. Thank you.
Yes, it is.
While watching this,
I know.
Yeah, definitely.
Without that context, I wouldn't know what was going on.
Right?
Well, Richie Ayoade is also quite hot. In a really nerdy sort of gangly way. But yeah, other than that, that's kind of all I've got for. Well, I've got I guess everyone probably has heard of Issei Sagawa, the Japanese guy who got away with it pretty much.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah. So he was studying a PhD in Paris, and he killed and murdered someone and then ate them.
Yeah.
Didn't eat that much of them before deciding to dispose of the body. Got caught disposing the body, but then he was deported back to Japan, and the case was dropped against him. But then when he got back to Japan, he was found insane and unfit to stand trial in France, and then deported back to Japan. But when he got back to Japan, they found him sane and said, "There's nothing wrong with you. You're just a sexual pervert." But because the charges had been dropped, they had no criminal charges to get on him. So he basically just checked himself out of the hospital and went, "See you then," and basically spent
Had a big dinner party.
Yeah, he had to spend a couple of years in jail in France, like pre-trial, but otherwise was totally fine. Well, funnily enough, he was kind of a celebrity, and when he let himself out, he wrote for a bunch of years wrote restaurant reviews in a magazine.
Oh my god!
Yeah. He wrote a book
That's
all about
awful.
it. He wrote a book all about his murder, and he wrote restaurant reviews and stuff. And I think Vice did a documentary about him as well, where they interviewed him. Pretty fucked up.
Well,
Hallie, you would love it. Richard O'Hardy is the best. Richard O'Hardy is the best. I love.
I'll
Richard
have to
O'Hardy.
check it out. I'll definitely have to check it out. Well, there's always that guy in the South Wales that got caught eating his girlfriend. Stop.
I don't know this one. He got caught
In
in
a-
it. Was he like
in a
in the
not
middle of
obvious
eating her
sense?
when the police busted him?
Let's see. What's that?
Was he actually in the middle of eating her when the police?
Yeah,
busted
that
him?
he was like trying
Can't
to
you see
eat
I'm having
her
a romantic
eyeball.
dinner with my girlfriend?
Yeah, hold on, let me try.
The Double.
Okay.
Is really good,
Yeah.
by the way. Oh, go for it.
British police confronted a man trying to eat the eyeball and face of a woman and used a stun gun on the cannibal who later died. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Go figure.
What?
And it says police said they were called to an incident at a hostel in the village of, I don't know how to say it, Argoed in South Wales on Thursday. This is back in 2014. After reports of a man attacking a woman.
Sorry,
Yeah.
spell
How
that
would you
again.
eat the eyeball? It's like mostly all
It's
fluid.
like Argoed. It's Argoed in South Wales.
Oof.
Security staff at the Sir Howie Arms discovered the 34-year-old man who'd been released from prison 2 weeks ago, eating the woman, 22 years old, believed to be his girlfriend.
If I was going to eat someone, like if I was on that raft, right, and I was in a shipwreck and I was having to survive, I'm fairly sure I would not, like, you know, when we spoke about like bums or arms or legs, face would not be one of the first things I'd think.
No, and what gets me is, and I think this is what I remember most about the whole thing, was the quote from Lynn Beasley at the South Wales Evening Post. This is literally her quote. He went Hannibal Lecter on the woman. He gouged her eyeball out, ate them, and ate half her face. You couldn't come up with something better. No, the police tased him.
Did he like swallow?
They tased him. He
Did he like
became
swallow the eyeball
unresponsive
or
and
like
then he
bite it?
died.
Because it's...
So I remembered that for some reason. I don't know.
I like the fact that they ate half of her face as well. You couldn't even finish her whole face.
I know. That's
mean-
just gross.
Weak.
But
Put the rest of it in the
right?
fridge
Yeah.
for the morning. But
I'm not Welsh enough for that.
why the face? I always find any murders, to be honest, where you get like facial mutilations, freak me out a little bit. I don't know why, but it's the same with like the Jack the Killer killings as well. Like the last two where he attacked their faces specifically, I find that really quite hard to deal with. Like I don't know what it is, but there's just something a little bit extreme about smashing someone's face up. I think because it's so much.
That's
bone
your
and-
identifier? Oh.
Well, yeah, and it's just.
Yeah.
So
I was getting all
brutal as
psychological, like
well.
that's your identity, that's what people see first. Eyes are the
I-
window to the soul. But no, we're just talking about brutally smashing your face in. Sorry, my bad.
No, it's
Come on,
kind of a bit
Amanda.
of both. I mean, partly,
Jesus,
yeah, there
sorry.
is that kind of personal part of it, but more it's just the physical part of doing it. I mean, if I was going to cut like lump of someone's arm off, that's kind of less grimy than if you're cutting into someone's skull with their face, isn't it? Like,
James said it was in South Wales. She probably had a beard.
just at the top half.
Yeah.
just
why
ate around her beard.
That's why he couldn't finish her. He was like pulling the whiskers out of his teeth. He just couldn't do it. That's so wrong. Oh my god. But what's the name of that one British guy who was like, the reason he got caught was because he was trying to like dispose of pieces of the body, like flushing them down the toilet, and it backed up like the whole sewer system for the apartment for like the whole building. And that's how he got caught, was they ended up calling out like the plumber and stuff, and they're like, there's pieces of people in the sewer system.
I don't know how those phalanges got there.
Yeah. No, I
Oh.
can't remember his name.
I didn't know that happened.
Oh Lord. It's, how do you? Oh geez. Okay. Human bits in sewer. I don't know.
How to flush a body down the toilet story.
God. See, that's why I use a certain search engine.
I hope that's not your work computer.
Oh God, no.
Like your boss looks at the work history.
Well, even then I use a certain search engine on my computers. That way you can. It's like I've got all these filters on it.
Incognito browsing.
Oh no, it's
Scarily,
way,
I don't
it's
use
way
incognito
past that.
browsing enough.
No, it's way
should.
past that. Yeah. No, dang it.
Dennis
And-
Nielsen, James.
Yes, that's who it is. Thank you, James.
So I didn't know the story, but I've heard his name.
I couldn't remember to
Was
save
it in
my
the
own
70s
life.
or something like that?
I don't remember exactly when it was. Let's see, victims
So, another
12 to
thing-
15, 1978 through 1983.
Yeah, no, I've heard the name, but didn't know the
Yeah.
story.
Oh, he was a necrophile too. Don't forget about that.
Mm. There's a certain level of desperation there, isn't there?
Well, he was never
When-
lonely.
When you can't get a
That's
date
true.
and Tinder's just not working for you. Oh, yeah, he was in the U.S. Air Force too. That's right.
It's a dinner date.
Yeah. Wow. That was
Some of
like
them ended up
30
being lunch
photos
dates, too.
level. Oh my God. But yes, I
So-
would definitely eat someone if I needed to. And yes, I would eat someone before I would eat my dog. You are making a mess.
So the whole thing was only 12 days, right? The raft of Medusa.
I actually can't remember. Because that. Yeah, I don't remember.
It wasn't
I've got
relatively
my
that
notes
long.
here.
Like it was.
The longest was I think 20 days. So yeah, no, it wasn't like it was like 2.5 weeks, something like that.
Because what's interesting is what they teach you in like outdoor survival is like the rule of 3. So like 3 minutes you can survive without oxygen, 3 hours without like direct exposure, like not including frigid ice water, but without like a shelter. You can go 3 days without water and 3 weeks without food. So if it was that 12-day time frame, it's kind of like you guys
Could
would have been okay.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
The water
Could've
thing would have
made
been
it.
an issue, but you wouldn't have starved to death.
Would have been really hungry though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, geez.
No one had
you
a
know?
Snickers.
Well, I mean, if it was like a kind of unspoken sort of rule that to survive you ate humans, maybe they were just sort of like, it wasn't such a big deal. Maybe they were like, time to break out the humans then.
You're right.
But these
Pairs
were,
well with this red wine.
Yeah.
I guess they
A little
were
bit peckish.
pretty
What
much
about
all
you?
sailors. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I mean, most of the people that died on the raft, I mean, it's telling that literally no one died of hunger. That the people, most of the people died of either suicide or murder, basically.
Can you imagine being that? I mean, that just you commit suicide because you're that hungry, or you're just that desperate, or you're just that.
Yeah, everything's that bleak that you just go,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm just going to walk off
I'm
this
just not
raft."
even gonna. Yeah, I mean,
I totally see that. You're controlling the last thing you can in your life because now everything's so like
Buggered.
gone to shit. So you're like, all right, well, here's the one thing I can control. Like, and I'm feeding the party. Look at that. Look at me being a selfless person. Like,
A selfless act of charity. Yeah.
yeah, of
I
course.
suppose. Oh, I don't know.
But, like, that's what we cancel it out, right? Like, I'm not going to hell for killing myself because it was a selfless act to feed my crew. Like, up there with St. Peter trying to negotiate this.
Well, so you guys might know this better than me, but in the Bible, one of the books that I read, one of the first-hand
Are
accounts.
you assuming my religion?
No, it's just that
No, I'm just
Americans are
kidding.
kind of usually more up on the Bible than
Go
me.
ahead.
But there was a quote. He quoted some. I guess it's from the Old Testament of oh shit, what was it? But
The
basically,
best part of the Bible.
yeah, but basically it was like for them to
Totally.
survive, that they said they should eat 1 in every 10 humans to survive or something. And it was, I think it was something to do with Israelites.
Did you put that in your notes?
I may have. But I read it in a book. Hold on, let me go get the book because I read it just earlier.
I like how he said in his notes, it says, Laura said, fuck that, and sailed out to deep sea. The slow route arrived safely, by the way.
I love that line. I want to quote it, like, and frame it. It's so great.
I love his notes. You guys need to see his notes, man.
They're inspirational. I wanted to put that up at work.
I like this. French monarchy didn't fuck about.
Well, yeah, but they didn't, did they? Fuck.
Oh, God. His notes kill me. I want to know, Ben, when you said grants for permits to grow cotton, cocoa, sugarcane, and get fingers in the gum trade, was that a...
It wasn't, but it should have been.
You're
Okay.
right, Sharona. That's totally another needlepoint idea. Oh my God.
So this was in the just so that I don't offend anyone by talking about religion that I don't know about. It is here. It was.
We're talking about cannibals, and you're worried.
Yeah, well, yeah. It was in the one of the first-hand accounts, but they quote it in this book, and he says that basically, in the Old Testament, the Israelites under siege were told that they would eat the fruit of their own bodies, the flesh of thy sons and daughters. And in
Babies. Eat the babies.
the third book of Herodotus, when the Persian army under King Cambyses was crossing the desert to Ethiopia, and they ran out of food, the king ordered the killing of every 10th man in order to feed the rest. So, like,
Does
That's
it
not
say which version?
do what? Sorry.
Does it say which version? Because there's like over 200 printed versions of the Bible.
No, it
And
just says the Old
Herodotus
Testament.
isn't-
Just says the Old Testament.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't
Because
say
you have like the standard version, the new edition version, the world version, the King James version. So it's like a whole Jehovah's
it-
Witness version.
I have no idea. It just says in the Old Testament, the Israelites under siege were told that they would eat the fruit of their own bodies, the flesh of their sons and daughters. That's all I'm aware. So yeah, that's basically how they justified it to themselves. Was like, hey, they said it's okay in the Bible, so it must be all right. That's weird. When you put these on the wrong way round, everything sounds really weird. Yeah. Anyway, what are we talking about?
Oh, for the life of all flesh, its blood is its life. Therefore, I say to the Israelite people, you shall not partake of the blood of any flesh, for the life of all flesh is blah, blah, blah.
That's
Cannibalism
definitely.
in the
in-
Bible.
All right, well,
Oh,
so much for me
right.
talking on the Bible. Thanks, Hallie.
It's faster to Google it. I've got 1 billion Bibles in this house. It's faster to Google it. Parents eating their children, right? Is that what you want? That's what you want.
Is that what you
Alas,
want? Because that's
women.
what you're gonna get.
Alas, women eat their own fruit, their newborn babies. That's That's what you're talking about.
I've no
I will
idea.
make them
But
eat
yeah, that's
wild.
basically how they justified it.
Yeah, it says, I will make them eat the flesh of their sons and daughters, and they will eat one with it. Yeah, okay. I get what you're saying. Yeah. Deuteronomy 28:53-7.
But I mean, that's the Old Testament. It was fucked up anyway.
Yeah. It's also in Leviticus 26:29. Because of the suffering that your enemy will inflict on you during the siege, you will eat the fruit of the womb, the flesh of the sons and daughters the Lord your God has given you.
I mean, couldn't the fruit of the womb literally be the pancreas? I heard that's really nutritious. I mean, the pancreas, the placenta. Wrong.
Isn't that cannibalism
Wrong.
anyway? Anyway,
Wrong, Amanda. Wrong.
it's sort of cannibalism anyway, though, isn't it? Even if you're just eating placenta or whatever, that's still like. I mean, how's that different from the
I was
Chinese
just being
medicine?
a brat, sorry. Right.
But no, but I mean, because funny enough, I just started reading up on a different topic, which kind of led me to this one, which was about kind of medicine, and how people used to eat like kind of bits of other people, and I never would have put two and two together that it was kind of actually cannibalism, but yeah, of course it is, and they were basically like eating like, you know, bits and bobs here and there. You know, that's not cannibalism, is it? If you're not
No.
not
If it's
snacking on
not
the whole
like
body.
the whole thing. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Well,
If you
it's
eating powdered mummy, for example, and things like that.
mhm.
well,
Yeah.
it's funny, like what Amanda was saying, because it, you know,
We got Sarah and Mrs.
the
Sarah.
verse. Hey, the last part of the verse says,
works.
will begrudge the husband she loves and her own son or daughter the afterbirth from her womb and the children she bears. So that's what Sarah was talking, or that's what Amanda was talking about. Was the placenta? That's what they consider.
A little bit
okay.
of olive oil, medium to high heat.
Right up.
No.
Sizzle, sizzle.
Delicious.
So Sarah and Mrs. Sarah, how long would it take you before you started eating people?
Oh,
Oh. Until I got
Couple
hungry.
days.
What is it being paired with?
Fish, flying fish.
I don't think so. Yeah. leather straps of leather.
No.
Yeah.
Until I got hungry.
Bits of your
Until I
hat.
got hungry. I'm sorry. Until I got hungry.
Immediately.
Pretty much.
You pissed me off on the boat. Come here. My stomach turned a little bit. Is a little bit grumbly. So you're going down.
oh God.
And the tumblers.
Oh, this feed is really bad. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
No, you're fine.
How's your arm?
It's. Where is the camera?
There it is. I saw it.
Oh. Thought we were pausing for
Oh.
dramatic effect.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, it's what? It's what?
It's fine.
It's still broken.
Oh man.
But yeah, so that's kind of that. Anyway, that's kind of Medusa, isn't it? Anyone got
It is.
anything want to talk about anything? Do you want to talk about the art now? Because you might. I haven't got a fucking clue, to be honest. The painting's just a painting to me.
The painting is amazing.
You're injured. You're being eaten first.
Have you seen it?
Absolutely. I saw
See,
that.
Oh, have you?
I'm kind of really like now. I'm really interested to go and see it, but
It's a beautiful painting. It's very classical of its time. There is a way that it's set up. There's a triangle. Those painters like Géricault and Ang and all those kind of French, very historical artistic painters did a stylistic way of painting. Of course, it's like totally stylized and dramatic and whatever, but it's also very political, and it's very it's a little bit over the top, but that's what's so awesome about it. It's
No.
so beautiful. It's just so anatomically correct, and your eye is drawn to certain parts of the painting, and it's just you gotta see it in person. So you gotta.
Where is it?
It's at the Louvre. It's at the Louvre.
Field trip.
I was just gonna say the same thing. Dark History's field trip.
it's not so far from here.
Not for you, not at all. Take the
Yeah.
tunnel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I have been since doing the episode. I was like, oh, now I really want to go check it out. Like, it's not so far,
It
but
really isn't.
but yeah, no, it sounds. I would like just the scale of it. I think would probably
It's
be quite
massive.
impressive in itself.
It's really huge. It's amazing. I love those big. I don't really like landscapes. I like more. If it's a huge painting, it has to have people in it. So yeah, it's perfect.
It's proper punk, wasn't it? Like it was
It
pretty,
really
like you say, like
was.
pretty
It
political.
really was.
Like
He was saying something, and he didn't. He died not long after he painted it either.
it's like 5 years later or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, because he had all those dead bodies around. No wonder he got sick.
Because it was when he died that the guy from the Louvre bought it, right? And then
Yes, exactly.
yeah, but yeah, no, I think it was pretty rock and roll when he did it because it was obviously like sort of the establishment had tried to cover it all up and
Yes.
kind of hide the whole kind of thing because it was a big embarrassment for him. And then he's like painting this fuck off great big picture, going, "What you trying to cover up?"
Yeah,
Sort of-
right. Try to hide this.
They didn't like those big political paintings. They did not like that. Nope. It's
Here,
true.
Ben. That shows you the scale of it.
Oh, let's have a look. Let me get rid of that banner. Wow, yeah, Jesus.
It's big.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
That's an ugly
I
frame
love-
it's in, isn't it? They could have done better.
They're always like
I don't
that.
like a lot of the framing. No, I really don't like a lot of the framing.
I like the guy in the backpack. It's like he's at a concert, like trying to take a photo.
Yeah. Trying to take a selfie with the picture.
Right.
So yeah.
It's dark, isn't it?
Yeah,
It is?
it is.
Looks like an
Oh,
intricate
sorry.
cone.
Like in tone or in like color? Or
Well,
both.
it looks like in the background,
Both, I
they see-
guess. But
that they see what's happening. You know, it's the raft. They're like, oh,
yeah.
ship is back there. Oh,
Yeah, because in that picture, the raft isn't as big as it should be.
no. Of course, bisons.
It didn't have enough paint to actually make it
No,
as big as it
right.
should have been.
There's-
It ran out of
people should
brown.
have- yeah, the people should have been a lot
Yeah.
smaller.
Exactly.
Oh my god, there's too much. Yeah, well, at least that's not like the whole thing with like the Mona Lisa. You know, it's like this is what you see, the Mona Lisa, and then this is reality, and you're like 100 yards back, and you see this little bitty square of a picture, like
It's like a thumbnail.
basically.
True.
Let me take a look at that.
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah, it's like Instagram versus reality type of a thing.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's too much. So,
yeah. That's kind of that.
Yeah.
Next week's episode is going to be about seances.
Ooh.
Well, one particular seance, but it's
Seances.
not so much about seances as kind of about one of these Society for Psychical Research investigators, and his
All those people.
his
That just said yes.
kind of his career, and then culminating in a seance that kind of capped it all off.
So the
Can I?
the
I just want to say real quick how much I appreciate Sarah putting Sarah and Mr. Sarah on her caption before she entered the studio.
Thank you. He'll be called Mr. Sarah for the rest of his life.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's okay with that.
Oh God, I'm sorry, Amanda.
It's okay.
no, it's fine. I was just gonna say because you talked about the psychological research. So they're gonna go investigate and then go down to the pub and wait for the evidence, right? That's
Yeah.
all they're gonna do.
It's going to be a whole episode about the two guys sitting in a pub. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Just,
Let's go to the pub and see what happens. No, it's
Oh
a
my
cool
God.
seance.
nope, no ghosts today.
It's like the creatures. Yeah.
What's that? Was that Mr. Sarah saying he's got a book about the Society for Psychical Research?
Yes, he did. He said that he had a book about the psychical research. That was the same guy as what's his face?
Oh, that guy.
Leon
Lion
Playfair.
Ken.
Yeah.
Dawson Mysteries. Dawson.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Oh, for the
Ken
first time,
Fraudster.
I actually saw a picture, and I don't know why I have such an obsession with the whole thing, but for some reason I do. But I finally saw a picture of Highgate, like the entrance to Highgate Cemetery.
Oh, Highgate Cemetery.
I just. Okay, that's not me, right? Okay.
They're coming for you, Holly. Run!
No,
The search
no, and
engine.
I panicked. I panicked for a reason, because when the puppy hears a siren, he'll look at me.
Sorry.
And,
That's
no, it's not
Milwaukee.
you.
Sorry.
No. But he'll look at me,
Road in Milwaukee.
and if I don't give him the no look, he'll start howling, and that's his mother's fault, not mine. But yeah, so I just kind of like panicked for a second. But oh, the Benadryl finally kicked in. He's asleep. I swear to God. But yeah, I finally saw the entrance, the gate to Highgate Cemetery. It's beautiful.
It is.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
Really
Yes.
old, isn't it?
I want to go there so bad.
It's pretty awesome.
Stop along the way when we go to the Louvre.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
For our field trip.
It's a
We
short
just need to
detour
do
from
like
the
a
train
tour.
station.
Yeah. Like DH tours, you know?
And nice.
Like some podcasts do live episodes. We just need to do live tours.
Live tour, yeah.
Yes.
Totally.
So everyone donate now.
Yeah. That's a new level on Patreon.
Yeah. Personalized dark
Yes.
history tour.
Yeah.
Oh my God, wouldn't that be great?
I
Oh.
could
I'm
not
totally
be the
for
tour
it.
guide.
Just saying.
Ben would be like, all of you need to go now.
I would be absolutely useless as a tour guide.
Well, that's what we've got James for.
Yeah. James would make a much better tour guide. Yeah.
I'm sure I would love to see like the agenda or itinerary that Ben would do for the tour guide. Like this fucking place and this fucking thing happened. Like,
Ask
And a doodle.
Callie.
yeah, right.
I can't organise my own.
Any art
life.
questions direct to Mr. and Mrs. Sarah. Like, you're just at the front holding the little like Dark Histories banner. Like, come on.
Yeah.
It's too funny. Speaking
Follow
of,
the
And I heard
finger.
cats. Yeah, right.
Do it. Sorry. As Hallie paused.
I know my internet, for some reason, it's freaking out. I think it's windy.
That is at the extent of the weather you get. It's
Yeah.
a bit windy.
It is.
Well,
Like up and down. But before my signal like totally freaks out on us, Ben and I were just saying, I sent Ben a meme saying from Tombstone saying, and Hell's coming with me, where he's
And
standing there with a
Hell's coming.
oh
shotgun.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mom,
And Ben's like, yeah.
Can we please
It-
watch that movie? We were just talking about it tonight. Can we please watch that movie? Oh my gosh.
I go, I know you said you've seen this before. And I go,
Like, I don't know. Like 20
Tombstone.
times.
And he goes,
Yes.
oh, yeah, it's been a while. I'm like, too long. It's been too
We
long.
must see that movie. Oh my god.
So we were saying that
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
next
yeah.
weekend.
It's been
we
way
could do
too
movie
long.
night.
It's the best.
So maybe next weekend we should like find a time to watch Tombstone.
Yes. Can we?
Yeah, I'm up
I
for
mean,
that.
I just
Yeah.
want to point out that next Friday is Friday the 13th. So I would have gone with a horror movie.
Like The Innocents.
And it's also a full moon.
That's
Or
true.
Friday.
Yeah,
the
it's a full
13th.
moon, and next Friday is Friday the 13th. So throwing that at you. If it sticks, great. If not,
Let's
that's fine too.
I would say The Innocents over Friday the 13th, but I'm just not like a
The Innocents
slasher.
Oh no, I
great.
just meant like something spooky. We didn't have to watch,
Yeah.
Jason or
No,
Michael or
No,
Freddy
I've
Krueger.
heard that Innocence is a good. Both Ben and James though have said that the Innocence is pretty good as far as like thriller, psychological thriller.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
old
so-
and good. But obviously it's really slow paced because of that. But if you don't mind like a bit slow pacing, it's really good.
Oh, I don't care what
The
we
book
watch.
is
it
also
doesn't
really
matter.
good too.
But it's really good. It's got a great soundtrack as well. But yeah, no, I'm up for something. Wherever we watch, I'll be up for it. I'll watch it.
Yeah.
So we'll sort that out
Good.
over Discord this week. On that note, if you want to be on our Discord and you're not, sort it out. Go on
Shame on you.
darkhistories.com, click on community at the top, and you'll find links to the Discord. Everybody else, thank you very much for coming. I think we're pretty much going to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Thanks, chat, for coming along. Thanks, Sarah and Mrs. Sarah.
Yay.
Amanda, Hallie,
Yay.
thank you very much. We'll
Bye,
see you
guys.
all next week for the seance and 2 weeks
Can't wait.
to talk about
I'm
it.
gonna light so many candles, you don't even understand.
Oh my god, you don't even know.
Now I hope that I
You don't
actually
even
follow through
know.
with this episode because I might not. But we'll see.
You have to now.
Yeah, pretty much.
The rest of our lives.
Oh gosh. Bye guys.
See you
Guys.
later.
Bye.
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 Okay.